Welcome to Mitchell Maths. In this video we're going to have a look at factorising harder quadratics. Now this is one of the harder topics at GCSE, so you might need... I've got a video on just factorising normal quadratics. In this, so if you need help with that, do check out my other videos. And what I mean by harder quadratics is when quadratics contain a number in front of the x squared. Right, the first step I'm going to look at when doing these types of quadratics is I'm going to look at what do I need to write in the brackets first of all as a first term. Well, if I'm going to make 2x squared, I'm going to need to start with a 2x in one bracket and an x in the other, because 2x multiplied by x is going to be 2x squared. So if you remember about factorising is the opposite to expanding. So whatever you put in those brackets must multiply out to make 2x squared plus 9x plus 10. That's my first step. My second step is to work out the signs. Well, it must multiply to make plus 10, which is a positive. Therefore, the signs can either be both positive or both negative. I then look at what it adds to make, and that's plus 9. Well, if it multiplies to make a positive and adds to make a positive, that means that in the brackets, I must have a plus and a plus. That's my second step out the way. My third step is to write out the pairs of factors that could be used to multiply to make 10. Well, there's two possible pairs, I think. So there'll be 1 and 10, and there'll be 2 and 5. So that's my third step. And my final step is to find the correct pair and put them in the correct order as well. Now, what I need to be careful of here is that the number that goes where in that square will be multiplied by 2. So one of the numbers I'm going to need to double. Right, let's have a look at the first pair of factors, 1 and 10. Well, if I double the 1, that'll give me 2 plus 10, which will be 12. That's too big. If I double the 10, that'll give me 20. 20 plus 1 is 21, which is also too big. Therefore, it can't be my 1 or 10. So let's go on to my next pair, 2 and 5. Well, if I multiply my 2 by 2, that gives me 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. Therefore, because I doubled my 2, I'm going to need to put it in this bracket here. So it's going to be multiplied by 2x. And I'm going to put my 5 in this bracket. Therefore, my answer is 2x plus 5, x plus 2. Right, the next question. Factorise 3x squared minus 13x plus 12. I'm going to start off doing the same as before. Step 1, write out the brackets. In this case, because I need to make 3x squared, I'm going to write 3x in one bracket, and I'm going to write x in the other bracket. And that's my first step complete. My next step is to work out the signs. Well, the numbers multiply to make a positive, which means it can be either a positive or a negative and a negative. I then look at what it adds to make, which is minus 13. Well, if it multiplies to make a positive and it adds to make a negative, that means it must be 2 minuses. Therefore, I'm going to put minus, minus, and that's my second step done. Now on to my third step, which is write out the possible pairs of factors. 12 is quite a difficult one. I think there's 3 possible pairs. 1 and 12, 3 and 4, and 2 and 6. So now I've done my third step, which is write out all the possible pairs. Now for the hardest part, I need to remember that whatever goes here is going to be multiplied by 3x. Therefore, I'm going to need to times it by 3 or triple it. Right, 1 times 3 is 3. 3 minus 3 and minus 12 makes minus 15. That's 2 negative. 12, well, that's going to give me 36 minus 1. That's going to be way off. So it can't be a 1 and 12. So 3 times 3 is, minus 3 times 3 would be minus 9. Minus 9 minus 4 would make minus 13. So I know that 3 is going to need to be multiplied by 3, so I'm going to put it in this bracket here. And I'm going to put my 4 in the other bracket. Because minus 3x times minus 3 is minus 9x. And minus 4 times x is minus 4x. And they add together to make minus 13x. So that's my answer, 3x minus 4, x minus 3. Right, we're on to our next one. This is 5x squared plus 7x minus 6. The first step is to write out the brackets again, which is 5x and x, because 5x times x makes 5x squared. My second step is to work out the possible signs. Well, in this case, they multiply to make a negative. And if it multiplies to make a negative, you know you're going to need to have a positive and a minus, or plus or a minus. It's a bit harder when you're doing harder quadratics because you don't know which bracket the plus goes in and you don't know which bracket the minus goes in to start with. What we're going to do is we're just going to write a plus and a slash minus above each of the brackets. We don't know which way around it'll go yet, but we've worked out what signs it's going to be. The third step is to write out the pairs of factors. Well, the pairs of factors that make 6, and there's 1 and 6, or there's 2 and 3. And those are my possible pairs. That's my step 3 complete. And step 4 is finding the correct pair. Well, whatever goes in this bracket here is going to need to be multiplied by 5. And because one is positive and one is negative, instead of adding the numbers together, they're going to actually subtract, because if you have a minus and a plus and you put them together, you end up, it's a difference basically, yeah. So you're going to subtract because it's a plus and a minus. Right, let's start with the first 1 and 6. Let's do 1 times 5, that's 5. 6 minus 5 is 1, that's not 7. Let's try the 6 by 5, which is 30. 30 minus 1 is 29, which is, again, way off. So it can't be 1 or 6. Let's try putting a 2 and 3 in. So if we put the 2, let's multiply the 2 by 5, which is 10. 10 take away 3 is 7. So that's it. Right, so because I need to multiply my 2 by the 5 to make 10, I need to put the 2 here. And I need to put the 3 here. Now I need to look at the sign. Well, it's a plus 7. So 7 is going to be positive. That means I'm going to need to have a positive 10 and take away 3, which means I'm going to have plus 2, because plus 2 times 5x is 10x. And I'm going to need a minus 3, because minus 3 times x is going to be minus 3x, plus 10x minus 3x gives me plus 7x. So my final answer is 5x minus 3x plus 2. So it does get a bit tricky when you have a plus or a minus. But again, you just need to work through it, through your factors once you've got them written down. My next one, now this one is quite a difficult one because there's two ways we can make 4x squared. We can either do 2x times 2x or 4x times x. Therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it out two sets of brackets. 4x and x, or 2x and 2x. So I've worked out the possible bracket combinations I could have. I now need to work out the signs. Let's have a look at the product. Well, that's negative. If the product is negative, that means the signs are going to be plus and a minus. I don't even need to look at the... And actually, in a second set of brackets, I can write plus and minus, because each of these, because it's 2x and 2x, each of the numbers is going to be multiplied by 2x. So, yeah, it's not going to make a difference which way around. Step 3, write out the possible pairs of factors. Well, I've got 2 possible pairs, I think. I've got 1 and 15, and I've got 3 and 5. Remember, I'm going to multiply whatever's here by 4, and in my other brackets, I'm going to multiply the numbers by 2, whichever bracket they go in. Let's have a look at 1 and 15. Well, if I multiply 1 by 4, that gives me 4. Because it's a plus and minus, I'm going to take them away. So 15 take away 4 is 11. That's not 7. If I multiply 15 by 4, that's going to give me 60. That's going to be way off. 60 take away 1 is going to be 59. Therefore, and if I double them both, again, if I'm doubling 15 to 30, it's not going to work. 30 take away 2 is 28. Let's have a look at 3 and 5. Well, if I times my 3 by 4, that's going to give me 12. 12 take away 5 is 7. Actually, that makes us, they add to make 7. So that is going to be the bracket I'm going to use. I need to multiply my 3 by my 4 to make 12. I'm going to need to multiply my 5 by x to make 5x. And sign-wise, well, I've got a negative here, so I'm going to need to have a minus 12 and add the 5 on. Therefore, my 3 is going to need to be a minus 3 because that times by 4x to make minus 12x. And my 5 is going to need to be positive because plus 5 times x is going to be plus 5x. So that's my final answer, 4x plus 5, x minus 3. These ones are quite tricky, especially if you have 2 possible brackets and the plus or minus which you don't know about, which way around they go. Right, for this last one, this is also where you can have 2 possible combinations. You could have either 6x and x to make 6x squared, or you could have 3x multiplied by 2x. That's my first step, writing out the brackets. My second step is to work out the possible signs. Well, I first look at what they multiply to make, which is a positive. Well, that could mean it could be 2 positives or it could be 2 negatives. I look at what it adds to make, which is minus 16, which means it could be either, which means it must be 2 negatives because it adds, if it multiplies to make a positive and it adds to make a negative, then it must be a minus minus. So I've worked out the signs. My next step is to work out the possible pairs of factors. Well, if they multiply to make 8, it could be either 1 and 8, or it could be 2 and 4. And my final step is to find the correct pair. Well, I could do 6 times 1, which is 6 times minus 1, which would be minus 6. Minus 6 minus 8 would be minus 14, which isn't minus 16. 6 times 8 would be minus 48. Minus 48 minus 1 would be minus 49, which is way off. And I could, if I look at these brackets, I probably should have drawn this actually, because I need to times 1 by 6. In the other brackets, I'll need to times by 3, or I'll need to times by 2. Well, if I'm going to times the 8 by 2, it would be minus 16. So minus 16 minus 3 would be, 2 negative. And if I'm going to times my 8 by 3, that's going to be minus 24, which is already lower than minus 16. So it can't be 1 or 8. If I have a look at my 2 and 4, well, 2 times 6 is minus 12. Minus 12 times 4, minus 12 minus 4 would be minus 16. Therefore, I know my minus 2, my 2 is going to go here, and my 4 is going to go here. So my final answer is minus 6x minus 4 and x minus 2. Right, thank you for watching. This is one of the harder topics of GCSE higher maths. So sometimes it will seem, when you first do these questions, it will take a bit longer to do, but once you get a bit of practice in, it'll start getting quicker and quicker. And for questions on this, please visit my website, www.mitchellmathsandscience.com.